Hey everybody, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with the first, and possibly only for a while, very comprehensive review on YouTube of the Yamaha CD-S303. We're going to start with taking a look at the box, as one does. It's exciting, right? We got the top, we got the side, we got another side, and the bottom. Whereas I want to complain a little bit about this, actually, looking at the box, because it came to my house like this. This was not an outer box, nothing protective around it. It just was sitting on my porch like this, open. So bad job, Worldwide Stereo, care of Target. But whatever, she opens right up, so we're going to unbox from the bottom, because why not, right? Ooh. There we go. There's that. That. There we go. The good news is nothing looks to be out of sorts with it, so if you get this, you won't be unboxing from the bottom, maybe. Well, you might. You never know. But anyway, here's a box with some stuff in it. We'll take a look at that in a minute. So we got the instruction manual here, and of course the main unit, and you just got some styrofoam packing items in this box. So we'll take the item down here and we'll throw the box onto the floor, and you know what, let's open this box of stuff first. Let's save the main event for a minute. I believe what's going to be in here are probably RCA cables, batteries. Oh, look. Batteries for the remote control. And probably we're going to find RCA cable and remote control in here, I'd imagine. Let's see if I'm right. Got some real basic RCA cables. Remote control. And power cords. So, exciting stuff. Don't worry, we will definitely take a look at this stuff in more detail here in a bit. And, of course, the main event itself, the actual CD player. And looks like we got a manufacture date here of 9 of 2021. Serial number, all of these wonderful things. Let's take a real quick look at the back. We got your basic RCA outs, coax digital out, optical digital out, and of course your power. And you got your wonderful front of the unit here, and that is basically it for the unboxing. So folks, okay there folks, now let's talk a little bit. We're going to take a really good look at this unit now, and better lighting and all that, instead of just, from the unboxing. And we're going to compare it with the unit again that I'm replacing with. This is a 20-year-old, made in 2001, so I guess 21 at this point. It's a JVC XL-FZ258 5-disc CD changer. Now, did the JVC break down? No. Is there anything wrong with it? No. Is there really a great reason to buy this? Did I have any issues with the sound quality? No. In fact, I bought this new back in 2001, and it still performs just as well as it did back in 2001. The main reason I actually purchased the Yamaha was due to a recent video of Techmoan's that I will link in the video description, where he talked about how portable CD players, at least ones that are halfway decent, are a thing of the past. And I've been thinking about it. New cars are definitely starting to phase CD players out. I bought a new car last year, and it doesn't have a CD player in it. Not that I care. I certainly don't care about Discman. The only place I care about playing CDs is in my home, right? So I thought to myself, well, I better try to get a decent CD player while I still can. Hence, why I landed on the Yamaha CD-S303, because The other, what I would call reasonably priced CD players, had a lot of quality control concerns in the reviews, and I just frankly didn't trust them. So that's why I bought this Yamaha. I did have over $100 in gift cards, though, so I did not pay full price for it, thankfully. But anyway, that's a bit of why I bought this thing, and I just wanted to kind of show off the two units together just so you can get an idea of the size differential between them, because obviously the the JVC is, they're the same width, but the JVC is much higher, and if we look at the back here, there is a good amount more depth to the JVC too, because it's a 5-disc changer instead of a single disc player. So let's go ahead and get in a little bit closer to the Yamaha and really get a good look at that front panel. Obviously right there we just have the power button. There we have USB for to play files off a USB drive. There's your source selection, pure direct, the tray, obviously the eject button, and player controls. And that's basically it for the front of this thing, so not too much to it. I'm not going to show off the JVC in that much detail because this is not a review of that. So what I'm going to do next, folks, is I am going to go ahead and I'm actually going to open both of these things up. We're actually going to plug these into some electricity so we can kind of watch the player mechanisms in both of these and kind of see how they compare just for fun. So that's the next step. See you guys in a little bit. Okay, folks, here we are with the players open. And of course, I'm going to start with the main event here, the new one, the Yamaha. And obviously, there's not a whole lot going on inside the new player here. What we got is obviously there's the play controls and then just the ribbon cable there going back to the control board, which I presume controls the CD player's functions. It's also where the analog and digital outputs are there on the back. On the other side here, we got a cable here going basically from where the USB drive is into that board there, I presume for data transmission, reading, whatever. We got a power supply, some other stuff. Nothing too fascinating going on here. Obviously, that's where the AC power is in. And, yeah, that's basically it. Not too much going on in there in this new player. Now, one thing, I'll just turn that off. One thing that I noticed right away, actually opening this Yamaha up, is the case is a lot more rigid. The metal's thicker on it than on my JVC. The JVC is definitely decent enough, but and that's one way it's, quote, probably higher quality. So let's go ahead and turn the Yamaha on real quick. That way we can kind of see the power on cycle inside and out. So we'll switch it on. Just says power on the screen. We'll try to read a disc, and obviously we just get no disc, right? So let's compare that to the 20-year-old JVC. There's not that much going on in that either because, by 2001, we were like 16, 17 years into the CD era already. So there'd been plenty of time for miniaturization to have already come along. So obviously the main thing that we see here is the tray that can hold the 5 discs. And on the top there, it looks like we got a board that goes basically for the AC input, right? And on the bottom there, we have a cable that leads basically to the digital outputs there on the back. And let's go ahead and power this on. And what it'll do is it, of course, checks all 5 spots for a disc. And, of course, it'll just say no disc, right? Pretty self-explanatory. So let's go ahead real quick and open up this player here. We'll hit the opening button and we'll take a little bit of look as much as we can at the CD mechanism in there. Pretty simplistic. The can't really see the laser too well on this one. Obviously, there's the motor for it. And, pretty simplistic setup. I'm going to go ahead and grab a CD, one of my wife's CDs. And because I'm pretty sure this one has CD text on it, which the JVC does not support, whereas this player does. So let's go ahead. This is actually the very first CD I've ever put on this tray. Set it right there. Start reading the disc there. And we'll wait for it to load, see what she does. And it shows how many tracks are on, 11 tracks. Let's go ahead and hit the play button. And why it's not displaying CD text, I don't know. I am probably going to have to read the manual on this, because I'm pretty sure it supports it. I just need to read the manual to enable that. So, very whisper quiet. I can barely hear this thing spinning. I mean, I can if I put my ear up to it, I can hear the disc spinning, but it's not very loud at all. And there you go. Seems, of course, to play the disc with no trouble at all. Very unsurprisingly. So, let's move on to the JVC. We'll eject the tray here, and we'll get a look inside. And the board's, it's a bit bigger back in 2001. Not huge, though. The main board is bigger than in this one, because in this one it's way smaller than the main board. But, you know, I'm not sure why it's so much bigger on this one. Obviously, we got a bunch of gears. It's a little more complicated due to the 5-disc carousel system, but everything just seems to work off of gears in here. And they're all still really well oiled despite being 20 years old. So one day I might have to oil those, but not today. And let's go ahead and we'll just load in a few discs here. That way I can show you guys playing at least a couple. So go ahead and just hit the play button. It should just start playing disc 1 first on its own. There you go. As you can see, it's playing. And it's still whisper quiet. No trouble playing that disc at all. Playing just fine. And both of these decks, by the way, play CDRs and CDRWs just fine. Because like I said, this is from 2001, so it has no problem whatsoever with burnt discs. And there you go. Now, of course, the cool thing about this is, again, I'm not doing a full thing, but if you want to exchange the discs, you know, swap them out, you can, while one's still playing, because it's suspended there. And that's basically it. So, we've kind of seen inside these players. I think that's enough look inside these two. What we're going to talk about next is some more features, of course, of the main event here. I'll be talking about MP3 discs, USB drive, all that. Even though I don't really plan to use those features at all, we'll still talk about it just for completeness sake. So I got some work to do, and I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, I've had plenty of time to test out the new Yamaha CD-S303, and I gotta say that the advancements in the last 20 years for both output stages and CD players and DACs are absolutely paying dividends, because, man, the bass on this was so amazingly well articulated and fast, and just took me to a whole other dimension. The mids were so present. It felt like everything was just in the room, and the highs, man, they were so silky smooth. In fact, when I was blasting my stereo, somebody from 3 blocks away heard it and insisted on coming over and dancing to the music, because the music was just so gosh darn danceable listening to it. And of course, that is a total load of baloney, because a CD player is a CD player, and they all pretty much sound exactly the same. Same as with every DAC, whatever. Unless there's something severely wrong with your equipment, digital audio is going to sound like digital audio coming out, and you're not going to have any sound quality differences. And I tested, as you can see, 17 tracks, almost 80 minutes of music. And I A-B'd between these two players, both on headphones and with my speakers, and I could detect, obviously, no audible differences between them. So, audio, no difference, right? Which is completely not surprising. Although one thing that kind of amuses me about this is this has a, quote, pure direct mode. Now, pure direct
is useful on both, like an amp or a receiver or whatever. Basically, what that does, it'll bypass tone controls, any sort of processing to kind of just give you a much more pure sound, and that can elevate sound quality of two-channel audio especially. And what's funny is, of course, it has it on here, and basically you hit the Pure Direct button. All that really happens, oh, well, I'm not playing the disc, so nothing happens when I'm not playing the disc. But let's go ahead and we'll play this disc here. And I hit Pure Direct. All that really does is it turns off the display and it disables the digital audio outputs on this. So it disables the optical and the coax digital out. And it's supposed to deliver, quote, higher fidelity sound. Well, it really obviously doesn't. I turned this Pure Direct on and off. I A-B'd between it on and off a lot, and it makes no audible difference to the sound whatsoever. So I guess it's a useful feature if you want to completely turn off the display for whatever reason. Hit that button, it'll go off. So I guess there's that. The two biggest differences, between these is obviously going to be in functionality, right? This is obviously a 5-disc changer. This is only single disc. This has, file-based playback. Since this was released in 2001, obviously it doesn't play MP3s or FLACs or any of that stuff, whereas this plays FLACs, M4As, MP3s, WMAs, and WAVs. So it'll play 5 different file types, the most popular ones, unsurprisingly. And we'll get to that. I'll stick a USB drive in there and all that. One thing that does disappoint me about this player a bit, though, for sure, is on the playback, and that's basically the way the CD text works on this thing. And the way you basically get that to show up is you take the remote and just hit the display button. And this is useful because it shows you what's left in the track. This one's useful because it shows you total what's left on the CD. And this just gives you a couple letters of CD text. So let's go to the next track. And it doesn't automatically show you the title when it starts playing or anything like that. You just got to keep hitting the buttons again, and then that's it. So nothing really too useful. Rather disappointing, at least in CD playback mode. Maybe it works better when we're looking at file-based stuff, but at least playing CDs gets a total thumbs down from me. Now, I guess another useful feature of this is the dimmer display. And as is much more apparent in person than on video. You can obviously get different brightness levels from the display by pressing the dimmer button. And yeah, that's it. It's a CD player. It plays CDs. Not much to say about that functionality. Obviously, next up, I'll be testing the USB drive. We'll show that off. And then I'll come back with some final conclusions and all that. So, okay, folks, I grabbed the USB drive. That's a 128 gig drive, by the way. I did format that as FAT32, so it would be readable on this thing, and it's reading it just fine, the 128 gig drive. So I'm going to go ahead and show off the USB drive functionality now. Right now, a CD is actually playing, and this implementation of CD text, this is a store-bought CD, not a burnt CD like the other one I was showing off. Does seem to work a little bit better, and I will show that off right now by hitting display. And there is the title. It actually scrolls. I don't know why it didn't with the other one. No, and it does show the album name. So, and it scrolls. Again, I have no idea why this didn't happen with the other CD text. So, go figure. I guess it's going to vary a lot disc to disc, how it's implemented, whatever. I guess however it burns in CD XP Burner, which is the program I use to burn the audio CD. Didn't play well with this CD player for whatever reason. Now I have a CD player in my car. My older car, I have 2 cars, and in my older car it has a CD player in it still, and the CD text on that one always works flawlessly, yet this one is problematic. Go figure, and that car stereo cost less than this CD player. That's neither here nor there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show off the USB drive functionality. So to do that, I'm just going to hit the CD/USB button on the remote. There's also one on the player itself. So it's going to switch over. It's going to obviously read the USB drive. And right now, I will see if I can zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this. That may not be incredibly obvious. It is playing a FLAC file, and it's actually showing the artist and the track name scrolling, which is nice, right? I enjoy that. So say you want to skip to the next folder, there's just a button here that says folder, which is, for skipping to the, next group. So I created another one. I just copied some of my wife's music onto it as well. So I'm going to hit folder, and that's going to take us to the next track. And again, it shows the artist and the track title, which is great. So it does play well, I guess, with tags. And this one, I'm not sure how obvious it is, but this is an MP3 file. So basically, let's see if I can just zoom in real good. It's a little blurry at that distance. I'd have to actually pick the camera up, get close, because you're not going to be able to read the text at that distance. But I will try this again here and see. As you can see right there, that's the file type that lit up. And then when I switch to another folder, the file type lights up right there. Because basically the file type that's playing lights up on the display. That's what I was trying to show you guys. And the full list of file types that are supported by this player are MP3, WMA, AAC, WAVE, and FLAC. So there you go. That's what it supports on the USB drive, what it'll play. Just like I said, I want to show an MP3 and a FLAC on this, the two most common formats. Plays them both without a hitch. So that's basically it for, so quote unquote, some of the extra functionality of this player. All that's left for me to do, again, is to live with this thing for a little bit of an extended period of time and give you some final conclusions on it. So I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, folks, I have lived with this player for a little while now, and I definitely have some deeper thoughts on it than I did when I first started this little journey. First thing I'm going to talk about is the price point, okay? This thing is $379. Now, I realize that CD players are not the mass market item that they once were, right? Obviously, we are in an age of vastly dwindling physical media sales, unless we could talk about vinyl, but let's, CD sales are going down, although they did increase very slightly last year by like 1% or something, but, they are going down significantly, right? So I realized they're not going to sell as many CD players as they did back in 2001 when I bought my last, stereo component-based CD player. And I paid $110 for that CD player back in 2001. And I went ahead and I used the inflation calculator, right? So basically, it's between... I used a few different inflation calculators, and it was somewhere between 175 to 180 in, quote, today's money, right? So if we were just going with the rate of inflation, it should cost about 175, 180, right? But let's be fair, okay? We'll go a little bit above the rate of inflation. CDs aren't, CD players aren't a mass market item anymore, blah, 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 blah. So let's say if we were going to just do a quote, in my opinion, a straight up fair price for this would be probably about $200. If it was that, I'd say, okay, I think that's a fair price for this. But at $375, yeah, it's definitely hurting your wallet, for sure. Which is why I, used, I think, about $140 in gift cards on this. I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? So my cost was not $375. It was significantly less than that, but it still wasn't nothing, right? So there's that. And honestly, for the price point, I'm kind of disappointed in this unit. Now, let me explain why. For one, the remote that comes with this, the button feel, right? And I'm only talking about the button feel. It is inferior, in my opinion, to the remote that came with the less expensive Yamaha A-S301. I believe that retails for $340. It's obviously my integrated amplifier. And the cool thing about this is one upside to these both being Yamaha products is I can control most of the functions of the CD player from this remote. I can turn it on and off, open the tray, play, pause, all that stuff. And the button feel on this is significantly better, which came with a less expensive unit. I mean, because really they're more spongy, less responsive buttons on this one versus this one. So, whatever. The only reason you would even really need this remote is for two things, really. Three things, okay? One is the, CD text functionality. There should be some way to do this from the front panel, but there isn't. So, basically, you got to, like I demonstrated earlier, you got to hit display several times to get it to, work, and it only lasts for a second, and it won't automatically show on the next track. So it's not the most useful functionality anyway. The other thing you need this for is you can update the firmware on the CD player without the remote. But if you want to verify the version, it requires a button on the remote. But it will update without the remote. And the other thing was there another thing that you? Oh yeah, if you're going to advance folders on playback of MP3s, right? If you want to advance at the folder level for the not CD playback, you need this remote to do that. But you can still skip tracks and all that, playing MP3 files, play, pause, all that with the amp remote. So this remote, since it's a lot worse and the extra functionality that it affords, I won't be using. It's going to go into the storage box along with my, JVC, which is going to take a little bit of a break because I want to make sure I'm going to just use this one basically continuously because I want to make sure it's going to be very reliable, blah, 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 blah. I've had this, less than a month, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm hoping for long-term reliability from this. And the other thing that is inferior, actually, on this to my old one, in a fairly significant way, is the playback of marginal CDs. And what do I mean by marginal CDs? Well, I'm going to show you. Here is my OG copy of Skid Row's Slave to the Grind. I had this literally since I was a kid. This is the CD in my collection that's in the worst physical condition. I'll try to show you as best I can. You can kind of see a bit here, some of the scratches, and you get to see some of the mess behind me. But, it's got a decent amount of scuffs and all that. And on the other CD player, it plays flawlessly. All 12 tracks, no problem. All right. And it mostly plays fine on this one. This one actually fooled me because I got through 11 of the 12 tracks. It played back flawlessly, except, of course, on the final track. So I said, okay, maybe the CD is just really dirty. I gave it a cleaning, several cleanings. Tried playing it back. It still doesn't really cooperate with the final track on this. So I popped it into my other CD player, played the final track without missing a beat. So I was like, okay, let's try something that's, quote, notoriously worse, right, as far as a CD pickup goes. And that is, basically, I used the DVD-ROM inside my computer to, do regular CD playback of the last track. And guess what? In my computer, it played back flawlessly. A $20 internal DVD drive in my computer outperformed this $379 CD player as far as, not skipping playback on a a marginal condition CD. So basically, that's the other thing I don't like about this player. It is not functionally as good as the, quote, older one. And that's not shocking. And as far as the USB-based playback or file-based playback whatsoever, it's very marginal. Yes, it does technically work, but it's a very poor user experience. And with the price differential, I mean, because when I think of what a fair price for this would be, you know, versus what you're actually paying, that leaves a difference of, I don't know, at least $100. You know, you could say maybe this is, but I don't know. The laser pickup seems to be worse than back what we had in 2001. But let's say it's $150, right? Between what I think you should pay for this versus what you are paying, $150 will buy you a pretty decent smartphone. So, you know, they could have, if they insist on doing file playback on this, they could have put, you know, at least a decent screen on here to make file-based playback a little bit better. Because as it is, it's nearly useless because it's just a really bad user design. I'm not a fan of it, just to put it mildly. Right, I guess because I'm spoiled because, you know, how I joked earlier about the advancements in DAX and all that in the last 20 years, clearly that hasn't really been significant. But the advancements in, you know, other forms of technology have been absolutely giant in the last 20 years. Hell, 20 years ago, most people were still using dial-up internet, for Christ's sakes. You know, nobody really, the closest thing to a smartphone was a BlackBerry. I could go on and on, but you get the idea, right? So, yeah, we've come a long way in the last 20 years, and I just feel like for what this is, it's overpriced, but sadly, that is a reality of the modern CD player market, because the only other player that I could find for under $400 was a Cambridge Audio something, and it was $350, and the reason I didn't buy that in comparison to the Yamaha was basically all of the reviews about, you know, how unreliable the Cambridge Audio one was. That's why I didn't buy it. Simple as that. Whereas the Yamaha had much better reliability ratings, yada, 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 especially since this is just more or less the CD-S300 with a very extremely slight modifications. It's basically the same thing. And if the CD-S300 was extremely reliable, I'm sure this one will be as well, hence why I bought it. So, it just sounds like I'm complaining endlessly about this. I'm not. It plays CDs really well. There is one other thing I really don't like about this player that I will demonstrate again for the price. The tray is kind of flimsy. No doubt. Not ideal. Right, for sure. So that also feels kind of like poor quality for the price. But again, sadly, in this modern age, it's just what we have to expect from CD players. So, but on every CD that I put into it, except for that one, the playback has been flawless, to be fair. You know, the sound quality is identical to every other CD player I've ever had, so there's no problems with that. And it mostly works completely fine. And I think it will probably be reliable over the long term. This is just a guess. I could be entirely wrong, but I think this is going to hold up pretty well to the test of time. So who would I say this CD player is for? Should you buy this? If you're a certain type of buyer, yes. For a lot of other people, though, like, let's say you're brand new to the CD hobby. You've dipped your toes in. You're starting to buy a few releases here and there on CD. Maybe you're getting some old back catalog stuff, but you're new to the hobby, right? Should you buy this? No. If you're brand new to the hobby, I would suggest basically scouring, Goodwills, Craigslist, wherever, to try to find an affordable used CD player. Basically, to try the hobby out to see if you even like it, right? Because you might do it, and you might be like, okay, I don't really like this, I don't want to do it, yada, yada, yada. And then you've only invested a relatively small amount of money into it, and there you go. The people I would suggest to actually buy this thing are people who are, quote unquote, like me, right? They've been collecting CDs for decades. They have an exceptionally large collection. They continue to collect, right? Yada, yada. You get the type. And you want to basically buy something that's not used, right? Because there aren't very many not extremely crazy priced options. So you're kind of by default, this is a good, quote, default choice. Now, if there were lots and lots and lots and lots of other choices, would I say to buy this compared to those? Probably not. But given the limited choices we have, I think it's a decent buy for what it is. So that's basically it. I'm not a fan of the fact that companies are really just taking advantage of the fact that these are limited or whatever, especially with this being somewhat inferior to something that's 21 years old at this point. Wow. So anyway, that's pretty much it. If you want to check this thing out, I will put Amazon affiliate link below and get it if you want. If not, whatever. So anyway, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys liked this. As always, live long and prosper. Keep on rocking. I will see you in the next one.